The last exit hummed with energy, packed to capacity. Its reputation as the city's premier escape room drew crowds year-round, but Halloween was different. Tonight, the building overflowed with revelers, all eager for thrills, costumes, and cheap scares. Among them, 5 names had been drawn for a special prize, a private, experimental Halloween experience. Leo, Chloe, Ben, Maya, and Sarah had won, pulled from a pool of guests who had excelled in previous games and truly engaged. Drinks were flowing, laughter ricocheted off the walls, and the flicker of jack-o'-lanterns cast uneven shadows across the polished floor. Julian Belrose, the owner of the last exit, moved through the crowd, his eyes on the winners. He decided they were sufficiently lubricated to be compliant. "Ah, I see you have found each other, making fast friends, I hope," he said. His smile was perfect, polite, but cold. He waited for only a flicker of acknowledgement before continuing. "Are you all ready for the experimental Halloween experience?" Leo was the first to respond. "Hell yeah, let's go!" The others nodded in agreement and let out their own cheers. Julian turned and motioned for them to follow him as he walked through the crowd towards a door marked Staff Only. He continued leading them through a narrow corridor and down a staircase. The basement was a graveyard of half-built scenarios and broken animatronics, their joints rusted with time and neglect. Splintered furniture lay in chaotic piles, dust coated every surface. The air was thick with the smell of old wood, mold, and the faint tang of rusted metal. At the far end, a tarnished mirror stood within a small circle of candles, catching the dim light and reflecting only vague shadows. "I want to show you something unique," Julian said. Leading the group to a cloth-draped mirror, he pointed to the intricate carvings. "Notice the carvings around the frame," he said. "I made those myself. Adds a spooky touch to the mirror, wouldn't you say?" Sarah choked out a soft, "Yeah, they really do," the tension of the atmosphere being shattered by the sudden admission. A moment later, Julian snapped back into action. "You are all the hand-picked winners of the experimental Halloween experience. You are the real go-getters who not only had the fastest times, but also the most creative solutions." Julian placed his hands on the cloth and tugged at it, revealing the rest of the ancient-looking mirror. "This game will test your limits. The game is called Bloody Mary," he said, allowing the silence to build. The group groaned. "What? Are you serious, Julian?" shouted Leo. "That's a kid's game," Chloe said, shaking her head. Julian's gaze was unwavering. "Ah, but you've never played it correctly." He turned to the side, facing away from the group. "If you truly believe this is beneath you, then you may leave. I will select another VIP to take your spot." No one moved. No one could. "Very well." Julian continued. "Here are the rules. You must stand in a horseshoe facing the mirror. You must repeat aloud in unison, 'Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary,' exactly 13 times, not 3 like the children's game. Then you must remain silent, maintaining eye contact with your reflection for a full 60 seconds. If performed correctly, Bloody Mary will appear. But, should she appear, none of you shall leave." Julian nodded once and smiled. "See you soon." He then turned and walked back up the pathway. The group took their positions, preparing for the ritual. Julian stepped out of the room and, under the cover of the DJ, closed and locked the basement door. He then moved to his office, logged onto the live feed from the basement, and launched his private chat room. Usernames began to pop into the stream, shortly followed by a series of soft dings as donations came rolling in. The group in the basement began to chant, "Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary." The first repetition was a little out of unison, so they did a practice chant to get their timing down. The second attempt was just barely in unison, but by the 13th repetition, they were in perfect cadence. "Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary," and then they paused, breathlessly counting to 60. And then nothing happened. Moments later, nervous laughter erupted. "Guess we failed the ritual, guys. Do you want to try again?" Ben jokingly asked. Then, on the far wall, a red timer blinked to life. 5 o'clock. The lights in the basement turned up, and the group could now see that the oversized room had 5 separate partially constructed sets spread about the room: a robotics lab, a dress shop, a funhouse mirror maze, a bedroom set, and a haunted house set. They could also see that nearly every surface was covered in mirrors of all shapes and sizes, including broken shards that were glued onto surfaces to form whole frames. Oh, didn't Julian say, "But should she appear, none of you shall leave. We must have to find some way to open the door or do something